to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right. This is a special edition of the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio. And we have some great sponsors that have brought us here to this day and time. We have Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com down in National City, one of the top online retailers, but they also have a showroom down in National City that you guys here in San Diego can take a look at. They just want you to play it loud, and they do a great job at providing gear to the people that are looking to be professionals in this business. And if you are a professional in this business, and I'm sure my guest here has had many clients that have used SIR Music Equipment Rental, #1 in the country. They got offices all over, and they basically provide the gear for all of the touring bands as well as a lot of corporations. So make sure you take a look at them at www.sir-usa.com. Stars Align Now at starsalignnow.com. They're out there teaching the next generation of artists to become the best they can be in this crazy world of music. And last but not least, California Music Studios, where they just californiamusicstudios.com, where they just basically bring about these new aspiring artists. They're basically a solution for teachers to meet students. We've got a couple of events coming up here, kind of let you guys know here in San Diego at least. We've got the UCSD concert organization is putting on the Aristocrats, who are just an amazing group with Govan Guthrie, the guitarist, just an amazing player. They're going to be here on August 28th in San Diego, as well as the Rock and Roll Reunion is going to be happening July 18th at the Tango del Rey. And today I'm very blessed because I have a good friend. I've known him for quite some time. He came all the way down from L.A., and he's a busy man, and I feel honored. Mr. Justin Goldberg. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Man, you are... last time I seen you was... We won't say where because it was kind of an interesting place. The last time we hung out, it was a concert. We came out, and let's just say there was some medical aspirations that were there, and I don't know, it just was a crazy concert. But remember that, right?
I do. I think I remember a little bit of it.
Yes. Too long ago, man. It's been good. You have just been taking off with everything you've been doing. Let me kind of give a little introduction to you folks. He's one of the top people in the music business. He's helped to drive a lot of the initiatives that are hopefully going to save this business, because even back then it was a crazy business. We were talking about where things are, and it's so funny. That was maybe, was it 2004 or 5?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and we were talking about how this business was just ready for a big dive if it didn't prepare itself, and sure enough, that's where we're at, right?
Yes, it sure has taken a considerable left turn.
Yeah, it definitely has. And before you jump into all that, I just want to kind of let people know that you've been you started off in a family that was in the business, a legal family that helped get some folks some justice. Miles Davises of the world and stuff. Your dad.
Yes. Yep.
You have. Bet Donald Trump's in your world. I read the wiki. A lot of stuff I didn't know, man, and it's pretty awesome. And of course, you've helped the careers of like Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, Rage Against the Machine. I mean, we're going to jump into this, but you've been working with so many incredible talents, and most recently, one of my favorites, Grace Potter Nocturnals. You helped to launch their career, and so it's pretty powerful. With that said, man, let's kind of go through the adventures that's been Justin Goldberg, dude. You can't, obviously you were around a lot of these top talents. When did you decide to actually jump into this business? What was that key defining moment that you said, all right, this is for me?
It was all about Martin Sexton, frankly, at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Sexton and the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
were two shining chunks of talent that I had been a musician, and I had aspirations as a songwriter, and I always felt like I was a performer, and that's what I wanted to do until I was just struck blind by a certain level of talent that I realized I just could never have. But my enthusiasm for it was so strong. I had taken a part-time job at Sony Music because I had a family friend who was a senior guy there back in New York, and I'd sent him my demo. And in an effort to hopefully have him say something nice about our band and the demo tape I'd give him, I agreed as a temporary measure to just have some, experience by becoming an intern at the A&R department at at Sony Music at the time, who had just been purchased. The Japanese had just purchased Epic and Columbia Records and started to take it over.
CBS.
And then I realized that these people, all these artists, were in the same mindset that I was. Yeah. This enormous energy and driven sense of destiny to do what they do. But yet they were, whether they were talented or not, they shared the same mindset that I did. And I realized there was this incredible disconnect between the people at the record companies, because now there I was kind of on the inside.
Especially Sony at the time, they were used to doing other types of industries. And at that point, those were the people who actually came in and said, we're going to run this label, from what I understand, right?
It was a big transition. Yeah. I mean, they were. I think that the record industry people were thrilled to have such an influx of cash. At the time. You have to remember, I mean, these plastic containers that had these mysterious, shiny other pieces of plastic in them known as CDs.
Yeah, for decades it was this big, giant black platter, right?
Sure, it was. They made them for 30 cents and sold them for $18.95 all over the world, and that's the only way you could listen to music. So imagine, not only the record companies and the industry in general were so spoiled from having these tiny investment costs and this huge barrier to entry, which was this thing called a recording studio. I mean, all this equipment that you would need to get involved in actually having your music reach a mass audience was an incredibly difficult barrier before the advent of, GarageBand and 1,000 variations of Pro Tools that made recording accessible to the average person. But before that, record companies were really your only way in. Yeah. And having been on the inside and experiencing the way that people were talking about musicians and how they became aware and interested in chasing down new music and what that controlling gate really was in reality, I was astonished that there was so much talent and such a tiny window to try and push it through. Yeah. It was like you were trying to take a room full of material and put it through a hypodermic needle. And that disparity and I felt a certain responsibility to communicate the two sides. So
it was like a call that you had at that point. It was more than just like, I want to make a whole crap load of money. You were like, I want to make a difference.
Never. I mean, it's
funny. But a crap load of money would be nice, right?
There are musicians that are driven by money. They usually don't realize that till after. But one of the reasons I've always been drawn to music is money is never really part of the equation for a very long time. People are drawn to music because it's just a calling. It's something they feel like they have to do. They have no choice. And it's interesting in the aftermath of streaming and the decimation of what used to be the music industry. You see certain people that hang on to it no matter what. A lot of people went into real estate and said, I'm getting married, I'm having kids, I'm moving on, I need a real job.
Now I want to interrupt you because you had to do that. You made a bet with somebody very famous, right? I read my wiki, man. I know this stuff.
Yes, I did. I lost a bet with Donald Trump. And it was a very dramatic few days. It turned into a year. It sounds crazy, but I started this label after I was at Sony. Yeah. And it was a wonderful company and a wonderful experience there. We got to become involved with so many wonderful artists and set up their showcases and go to all those early shows. I mean, everything from seeing, all these great Seattle artists. And, the first record I was given when I started that job was this brand new band had delivered their first, it was unmixed, unmastered. I had the rough of this record they were calling 10 by a band called Pearl Jam.
Oh, who are they?
Yeah, I don't know. They never made it. And they were always fighting with everyone. And I was blown away. And I thought, wow,
that's awesome.
This is a job. People actually get paid to listen to music and try and figure out what. And in music publishing, what was even more exciting is you weren't on the line as much to make the perfect call.
Yeah.
You basically were investing extra money in the stock of whatever that artist's brand was. You doubled down the bet from the music publishing rights side, along with the A&R people. So half the job was scouting for brand new talent to develop, and the other was sort of scouting the talent that had already been discovered and deciding which one would really become a multi-platinum seller versus not. So it was really, it was like having an investment analyst's head on, but being focused on what would knock it out of the park.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, we have to take a pause for the cause. There's going to be a commercial break here for a few minutes. This has been the Changing Stage Radio Show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, brought to you by some really key players in the business, and here with Justin Goldberg. We'll be right back in a few short minutes. Make sure you stay tuned, because this is going to be fun stuff. That's the first segment.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Has your business been appified? Are you tired of doing marketing that doesn't deliver results? Mobile apps build loyalty and quality retention. Your app from UPG Mobile puts your business on their mind and at their fingertips. UPG Mobile will give you a custom app highlighting how you are unique, targeting your message, and improving your open rates. Appify your business and amplify your presence with your customers at upgmobilemarketinggroup.com.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
To me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, it's the second segment of the Changing Stage radio show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio. Want to give a shout out again to pitbullaudio.com down in National City, or online SIR Music Equipment Rental at www.sir-usa.com. Get your gear when you go on tour from them. StarsAlignNow.com, where they're helping the music and arts programs in underserved areas to get these kids that don't get a chance to get that music program or art program in school. They make that a possibility, and they do that in partnership with California Music Studios. And we've just been talking with Justin Goldberg, my buddy from a long time. You know, we were just talking about some crazy pandemonium stuff we won't mention on the radio. But, you know, it's amazing the things that you've done. So, you know, you got that inspiration, you got that spark. You realized that this was not just about, you know, being, you know, the cool guy that was the manager or you know, for a time that you were running A&R departments for Sony. You know, it was something bigger, and you had a mission and a vision. And then you kind of went off and you started a couple of different companies. And 911 Indie was the first one that I came in contact with you.
Yes.
Tell us about some of the companies that you did and the reasons why, because that's really important to kind of, I think, to kind of lay the foundation of where you are today.
Okay. Well, I had written a book that I had started compiling notes for during my time in A&R, and I noticed how you couldn't overlook the fact in being in an A&R department in the heyday of what I suppose you could call it the grunge era in the early 90s leading up to
you were working
the late
with
90s.
Dave Grohl and all those guys at that time.
It was an interesting time. It was, I mean, that was an era where, you know, if I had given my business card to somebody in, say, Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington, and they saw that I was from Sony, I mean, I remember offering a band $1 million, and they were literally disgusted and turned it down just out of, you know, principle that it was coming from a major corporation. There was an ethos at that time. You know, it's funny. I was watching the Kurt Cobain documentary recently, and it all kind of came back to me. And, you know, it was such a war. It was really the haves versus the have-nots, but it was a cultural divide, really, between, you know, the more aggressive artists that had something to say politically, or at least had stood behind or around that kind of thinking. And it was a big deal. I mean, where bands came from and what labels they were on. Even I remember Rage Against the Machine, had they not been so ridiculously, flawlessly awesome, they could have fallen victim to that kind of thinking, because there was a lot of criticism at the time that they had, you know, they were this iconoclastic, you know, politically driven artist that you know, was on a major label. Yeah. But, you know, their rightful claim was that this is the best way for us to get our message across to the largest group of people.
Crazy things to make that happen too, yeah.
The biggest thing was that there was so much talent and there was nowhere to put it. There were artists that came out, had amazing records that we'd work on for 2 years and carefully discuss which song and in which order, and then it would finally come together, and then a bigger artist like Beck or Jewel would have a record coming out during the same cycle, and the product management team and the promotion team would only, you know, they would be doing the right thing. The order would come down from above, like, put that on ice, release that one, all hands on deck for this priority artist. Christmas is coming up. You'd have. So it was before the internet and before the theory of the long tail. It was just incredibly frustrating to see so much talent fall by the wayside and never have an audience, because the major label system could only take on so much. So out of that, I started making notes for a book I ultimately called Handbook for Hell, the ultimate survival guide to the new music industry. Came out about 8 years ago, but at the time, the internet was starting to really become, you know, every musician's best friend. And the book really led to me speaking to people. And I said, you know, there's a lot of stuff in your book. It just seems very community driven, it was very much like an interview book of people in the business, but it was a focus on A&R and the mentality of A&R, which I always describe to people. It's like dating a girl in high school. You wouldn't walk up to the girl you have a crush on the first day and say, "Oh my God, I think you're so beautiful. I'd love to go out with you." You have to play cool. You got to pretend you don't know that they even exist until maybe the last day or your second year. You know, you have to play all these head games to sort of create your positioning, and the worst thing you could ever do is chase it. And even if you're the head of you're the quarterback of the football team and you're the best looking guy in school, if you rush up to the thing you're after and say, "This is what I want," you lose instantly. So the mentality of the A&R game and how lawyers and agents and people chase talent became the focus of the book. And that led to a guy saying, I think I can get you some funding for a website that might do this. I said, well, I don't know. He said, well, let's have lunch with this friend of mine. Ask him for $1 million. Yeah. I said, that sounds pretty crazy to me, but I will. So we went to lunch with this guy, came in off a jet, his own jet, with jeans and a T-shirt and old cowboy boots. And I said, I need $1 million.
That's exactly how they travel,
said,
right?
Here you go. And he wrote me a check for $1 million at lunch.
Sounds like an episode of Entourage, man.
I don't know if this is going to cash. Is this real? In hindsight, I should have taken that money. But, we had a wild ride during that whole thing. I think, we were the first widget-based music retail system for people to sell and stream movies online. And
the first one was on Tila Tequila's MySpace.
Tila Tequila had put the widget. We called it the hookah because we tried to make the widget look like it was just a standard interface, but it had a smoking hookah around it. And since our whole system was about reimbursing the recommending user who had their page for the playlist, we called the moniker for the hookah was "Take a Hit and Pass It On," and she put it on her MySpace page. But it was during a period where MySpace, even though it was your space, was very much their space. And we had spent, we only had $1 million of investment from this lovely lunch I had, but we were competing with companies that had tens of millions of dollars. So the way that we got around it is Tila Tequila put it on her page, and she was immediately criticized by MySpace. They said, we're deleting your entire account. Your whole career's been based on us. We've given you this platform. We're deleting you tomorrow. You put an outside technology to make some kind of box appear on our website. And of course, now that's standard. But at the time, MySpace was the king of the hill. I mean, the arrogance that they gave off in meetings and communication was just astonishing. I mean, they within a few short years had
Tom wasn't the guy that everyone thought he was, huh?
It was they were extremely powerful. So I said, F this, I'm calling the New York Times. This is a front page kind of story. It's not MySpace, it's Fox Space, it's Rupert Space, it's their space. You don't own anything. Stop putting content on this stupid website for their benefit, for them to call and threaten artists and have them delete their retail pages. They're just trying to make $1 or $2 selling hats and T-shirts and tickets. It's outrageous, and that was really, not that I'm going to take credit for the change of the internet, but that was really the first time the New York Times published a story on the front page, and it was, MySpace users upset at the site dictating the terms, especially
I remember
on music.
When that happened.
They had spent years with the guy who had developed... the guy, I think he invented Napster. I'm forgetting his name.
Sean Fanning.
Yeah, Sean. Lovely guy. But he had developed a system called Snowcap, and Snowcap was going to be this elaborate solution for paying artists through MySpace. They developed it for years. We almost sold to them at one point. I think we even did a deal with them, and it was kind of dead on arrival. It never actually, came together. And he's a lovely guy, but I think his career looked a lot better in the movie The Social Network than it actually was in reality.
Was this Parker or Fanning? Sean Fanning was the one who invented.
It was Sean. Yeah.
Well, there's two Seans. That's why I always get confused. Sean Parker is the one from Social Network.
Oh,
from
well,
Facebook.
then I apologize. I'm talking about Sean Fanning.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a lovely guy, and it never came together on MySpace. And the thought was, with all these users and all these people, all they have to do is, make a push towards a new single of a new label, and it just always felt like a no-brainer that the millions would roll in. But music is a funny thing with money. Music just doesn't operate as like any other business. It has a mercurial, magical quality, and why things work and why other things don't make sense to movie people and rational thinking. It's a different beast.
It's even so much different now, man. It's crazy. And like I said, behind the scenes, man, have been very orchestrating like some changes. It's been huge. And like I said, I remember from 911, you were given, artists the ability to contact all these top professionals. That's why we got in contact, because I want to talk to, in our execs, I want to talk to other people about, we were doing a television network at the time, if you remember.
Yes.
And then, that's it's powerful stuff, man. So then from there, you kind of went on, you did some stuff with Babyface and those guys with Tonos and...
I did. It was actually my experience working for Babyface and David Foster and a lovely woman named Carol Beresager, who's a very well-known songwriter who has always married well.
She has, doesn't she?
She was married to Burt Bacharach and Terry Semmel, and so she had, been
brought her lyrics
tremendously talented and successful on her own, and then she basically, married to titans of different businesses. And so she had incredible resources and access. And she came up with this idea of having this creative area where people could record music and share it all over the world. It was very visionary company. The problem was with a lot of these great companies, Artist Direct being another one, they were, Napster being the first one, just single-handed genius technology moments in time that solved everything and brought everyone together. But the legal side of it,
and all the powers that be,
the timing wasn't right for those things, and that timing was everything. So Tonos had blown tens of millions of dollars, and it was just poorly run and whatnot. But it set the template for what I wanted to do, because I thought, I'm going to do this better and for 1/1000th of the cost. And we did.
Exactly. So we're going to have to take a pause for the cause again. We've got the commercials coming on. That music tells me. This has been the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks. Been brought to you by SAR, Pitbull Audio, Stars Align, and California Music Studios. We'll be right back in a few short minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children.
After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
Which sandwich is healthy and tasty? Which sandwich can come on bread or in a bowl? Which sandwich comes 51 different ways, so it's always your way? A which sandwich. Stop into our shop in Hazard Center. We're upstairs from the Hazard Center Digiplex. Bring in your movie ticket. We will add a free drink and chips to your sandwich order. Or order online at whichwich.com, and we will have it ready and waiting. WHICHWICH. Whichwich.com.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right. This is the Changing Stage radio show, third segment, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio, and of course brought to you by some very, very good companies that are out there making it happen in the music business. SIR Music Equipment Rental, where all the big pros go to get their music gear, as well as Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. You can buy your gear there. We've got Stars Online at starsonlinenow.com and California Music Studios at californiamusicstudios.com. They're out there training the next generation of stars. And with that said, we've got a guy who makes stars happen, and we've got Justin Goldberg here who is with us. And we've just been talking about the business on so many different levels here. Justin, you know, you've done so many different things here. You've got a lot of key things that are right now happening in a big, big way. And, you know, Justin, tell me what's going on right now. What are you working on? Because you're a manager, but you have also got other projects. You're also an artist. So tell us what's happening at this moment in your adventures. There's no other way to put it. Adventures, right?
It's always an adventure. I moved back to my old cherished neighborhood of Laurel Canyon, which has a rich history of rock stars and movie stars and lots of creative.
We were just talking about that yesterday, me and Wade and the crew over in L.A.
So we started where I moved into Jim Morrison's old apartment.
Wow!
Behind the Canyon Country Store, next to a restaurant called Pache, which is a real hot spot, but it's hidden away. It's the one place in L.A. that, you can hide from the sunshine. There's nature. There's, you're really plugged right into the woods, but you're in the middle, literally, of Los Angeles. So it's always been a real breeding ground for new talent. I think the woman from the Mamas and the Papas lived in the basement for years, and so we started doing concerts in this location at night, and we called it the Speakeasy, and it's an invite-only, underground thing that kind of gathers all the good spirits of the canyon. And there's, a lot of music industry folks there.
How many people usually
So it's a small, it's usually about 75 people, and we've been, collecting the content to do streaming and whatnot, but we've been actually talking about doing a radio show more in the morning, because there's also a great coffee scene every day.
Wow.
Lily's Coffee makes fresh espresso one by one for just a very cool group of people. And you see, there are actors, and there's people drawing, making illustrations for the cartoons they're working on. It's just a great gathering of people. So we've been working on putting together some weekly event, because the Speakeasy were wildly successful. It got so big so fast, we started to do them in other venues and locations. But I've very much always been planted in the world of artist development. It's one of those things that record companies just don't do anymore.
No,
they take a risk.
I don't even know. Do they have A&R departments anymore?
I mean, the A&R used to be that magic word that was the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Your folks like Guy Oseary and the Michael Goldstone. I mean, those were the heroes of my era. In A&R, and it really took a tremendous kind of talent to be a great A&R person, because not only did you have to have musical chops and an ear to discover something great, but you had to have the political skill and acumen
be able
to
to
navigate
Hollywood.
that enthusiasm through the often corporate concerns that were really interested in bottom lines and balance sheets, and the financial patience required to develop something. It really takes 3 years.
I love financial patience. That is a
financial
good,
patience.
That's a good phrase.
Well, if you think about it, if you say to a buddy, listen, if you give me $100, I'll give you $200 tomorrow. Oh, what? Really? God, well, here's your money. If you say, if you give me $100, in 5 years, you might get it back, or it might disappear completely, or you might make 500. I'm just not sure. It's a hard bet, and that's really the.
But you love it,
business,
right?
you really have to. It's a labor of love because it just takes too long. If someone's great and they could just simply be allowed to keep doing what they're doing for 3 years and actually tour and get, there was no rock star that was just born and got up on stage and became Neil Young. Everything takes practice.
Yeah.
And I think I started as an actor, actually not a music guy, and I always loved the process of theater because there were notes at the end of each show. The director sits in the back and says, "Well, here's what I think," and there's some group interaction, but the director's the king. Even though you're the actor and you're star of the show, you may have even written the play, but the director directing the performance is the final word, and you sit and you take notes. It's hard to imagine giving Kurt Cobain notes.
Yeah.
But, I have always been a big believer in that it's a collaborative process. If you want to be an artist that doesn't have to hear one single bit of feedback from anybody, well, there's canvases and art stores everywhere. Go be a painter, because music is very much a collaborative art.
Even if you're a solo artist, it's still a collaborative art.
Absolutely, and the biggest problem has always been for me, artists that they'll write something, they'll perform something, and people will respond. And it's a weird thing. It's one thing if you're trying to tell, an Ariana Grande or someone from, one of the television phenomenons,
the Disney kids.
Sing this song, sing that song, this is what we want you to be. And you have that classic manufactured, shove it down their throat and make them do a certain thing.
Yeah.
But one of the more fascinating and far more common A&R problems is when an artist performs something, they make you fall in love with it and then they turn their back on their own material and say, I don't like that and I'm not going to do it. So, well, wait a minute, it's hard enough to finally fall in love with something you've done, and now everyone loves this. We really embrace this. This is what we want the single to be. Nope, I wrote that about an old girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah, changed my life.
Gives me a strange feeling to sing it. No, I'm not doing that anymore. Or I wrote that when I was 15, and it's...
Yeah, you've seen that with Alanis Morissette. She wrote these great angry songs, and she made a lot of money. She's not angry anymore.
Good point. And those hits, by the way, that's another piece of the business that's fascinating. That was a demo. It was rejected by everyone in town.
Yeah.
It was
you were there.
Judy Stakey, who took her by the hand and marched her into every lunch at every hot spot in town until she knew every single person by name. And she was older at the time. She was already, close to 30 or past 30 and trying to be a pop star. And, this woman, it's the importance of an A&R person. She recognized the songs that would make it pop. People said no, but she said, no, you people are not listening carefully enough. She is that great. Yeah. And then she had, a third and fourth chance and eventually became Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, exactly, right. That's just amazing how the industry works. And, you're doing these cool things now. You also are a manager for some really good artists. Like I said, Grace Potter and Nocturnals was one of the ones that, I was like, wow, I didn't know Justin was, Grace's manager.
Yep, that was a really great project. I mean, I worked on that for nearly 10 years. It was a decade out of my life. Wonderful people based in Vermont. It was really a great experience to take something from the ground up. I mean, it was funny because when I first met them, they had read my book, which became this rallying cry, and then was connected to the website and became an open community for people to share music before MySpace, before Facebook, before YouTube, long before Reverb Nation and Sonic Bids. There was Indie 911. And, we would have these meetings with people and tell them that, well, this cell phone technology is going to change. And we see revenues of, X, Y, and Z for children buying games, and music will be on a phone. And people would literally laugh us out of meetings and say, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Your projections show a child under 10 downloading games onto a cell phone, which doesn't play games. And you're telling me that you see them paying, over $300 a year, their parents' money unauthorized on a phone? Yeah. Like, have you lost your mind? And now I look at my iTunes bill. It's probably, $7,000 a quarter.
I don't want to cut you off, but it's gonna go into a commercial break. Man, that's awesome stuff. We're gonna touch into that. That's a good segue for the next one. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Progressive Medical.
Hey, this is Heidi Rue, and you know, Progressive Medical Center has literally changed my life and my health, but I'm not the only one. Adele suffered from bone deterioration, bone overgrowth, profound muscle discomfort, physical exhaustion, and mental fog. In fact, the bone deterioration becomes so serious that she had to have back surgery. Well, after the surgery, she still didn't feel well, and so that's when she heard about Progressive Medical Center. Progressive Medical Center discovered that her adrenals weren't working properly, her hormones were out of whack, and the drugs she had been taking were doing more harm than good. Adele came into Progressive Medical Center in a walker, physically and mentally exhausted. But now she's a world traveler. She hikes and walks several miles a day, and it's all thanks to Progressive Medical Center. 770-676-6000. 770-676-6000.
Progressive Medical. This is your life. Live it well.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, this is the fourth segment of the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks and brought to you by SIR Music Equipment Rental at SIR-USA.com, Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, Stars Align Now at starsalignnow.com, and California Music Studios at californiamusicstudios.com. It's all about the music. And, we've got one of the music greats here in the business, Mr. Justin Goldberg, with us. And, we've been talking about so many different things. It's never enough time, man. I don't know why we waited so long to kind of connect up, dude. It's been a while. I believe things happen for reason and purposes, and I think that we've connected on that level because you're doing so many great things right now. And one of the conversations that we had back in the day, we were talking about this, I think, like I said, around 2004, 2005, and I talked to you about this meeting I had with Rock Records out of Asia, and they faced back then in the 90s what we're facing now is like, how do you make money in the business? Because they had piracy at that particular point. We don't have piracy so much as we just have so much stuff that people don't know where to go to get that one thing, so they're just trying to go everywhere. But they had piracy, and they found that it was sponsorship that really was driving their business model. you're out there. You're on panels. In fact, you respectfully told Quincy Jones and the CEO of Sony that they'd be out of jobs in the very near future, except for Quincy Jones.
I don't know where I got the balls to say that, but
that's so awesome. He told these titans.
The Milken conference.
Oh, there you go.
With Quincy and then the chairman Andy Lack, who was under a great deal of fire because he had come from really the film and TV business.
He didn't know what business was. So with that said, man, what's Justin's picture of the music industry now? What do people do? How do we make this thing happen? Because, like I said, I've done 100 interviews and no one really has a defined answer right now.
Well, it's interesting. My man Rico here, who's joining the NYU Business Initiative School in New York in the fall,
good call, Rico.
has been working with me for the last year and learning the business. And it's sort of an odd thing to say to a guy who just wants to soak it all up and do the right things and make the right decision. I say the business is kind of over as it once was. It's a completely different paradigm, and just when all of the textbooks catch up to where things were, it changes again.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, for me, I really don't think I don't think music has changed at all. In a way, I think that the curveballs to the business have, in a way, been kind of thinning out of the sick and mean anyway. Because most of the people that were in it to make to turn a buck quickly left as soon as they realized that this can't be a rational form of income in any steady way. And only the people who really just had it in their blood and had to do it, they really had no choice, because it is a calling. I mean, you're not going to make money as a manager of all fields. You're really looking at doing an enormous amount of work 24/7, middle of the night on a Sunday. Sure, that's your call and you have to take it. And the revenue could be years away. I mean, imagine taking a new job where they say, okay, listen, this is going to be a lot of work. You got to rearrange your whole life and your children's lives and your schedule. And by the way, we're not paying you for 36 months. You'd say, well, wait a minute. What kind of a job is this?
Yeah, right.
It's called the music industry. Well, there used to be, obviously, with selling physical goods, that subsidized a tremendously long list of people on the payroll. And with that gone, it really all relies on touring. I mean, I had really started seeing the light on how transformative music could be when I was dragged to a Grateful Dead concert 20 some odd years ago by my sister. I'm actually going to rejoin her this weekend for the final one in Santa Clara. But that was
full circle. That's awesome, bro.
This was a band that pre-file sharing, and I interviewed Bob Weir and Mickey Hart in my book, because I said, you guys invented file sharing 30 years ago when there wasn't even a computer. You basically encouraged everyone to give the music away for free as a way to help sell tickets. And essentially that's where everyone wound up, and that's what everything in the music business essentially does now. It's a loss leader. Sure, they'll sell stuff on iTunes, and there's, but really the music is a gift to get you more involved and come to the show. And, that band never was worried about cash. Because the touring was so strong and the live was so strong. So I think now it's just Taylor Swift being a great example. I mean, she's just awesome.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, and people will get it no matter what. She can change services. She can decide not to stream, but she wants to get paid for the stream, that she doesn't like, being streamed at those rates. She's in my mind, like a beacon for, a real place to aim for, because who she works with and how the music sounds, it's just transformatively amazing.
Yeah.
And it sets the bar really high so that it eliminates all the question. You have to have it because those songs are hits.
Yeah.
And I think to some degree, it's just kind of, it's raised the bar. No one can be just graded on a loose curve anymore. You've got to be great. If you are not, don't bother, because it's too hard.
Yeah.
But yet, I went to go see Ingrid Michaelson. By star comparison, most people don't know who she is. She sold out the Greek Theater last week.
Yeah.
And in between her songs, she's doing stand-up comedy. She's not a bombshell like Fergie. But that music finds its people and has slowly, gradually found its fans. There's nothing big and dazzling and obvious about the songs. There are no obvious hits, in my opinion. She's a lovely person, but she operates on a different frequency, and those people will find her. And
I think you said it earlier on communities.
Yes.
And which is something you've always specialized in, is that I think I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just kind of trigger something. When you think about all these different artists that you've talked about, like Seattle, that was a community.
Absolutely.
Chicago with the blues, a community. New York, all these different cities had these great communities that they were able to foster. Now we have online communities. So
absolutely, that's where things come from, and there's no more. I get hit up all the time, and a lot of people do. And they look at how great this kid looks, and he's an amazing voice. He has an amazing voice, and he looks so great. They think it's like American Idol. Well, the only thing like American Idol or X Factor or anything like that are those television shows, because that doesn't happen in real life.
No,
once in a blue moon, you'll have a moment like a Christina Aguilera on a development deal. But when I hear the word development deal, because there is none,
there's none.
There are very few, but it's a guarantee of disaster, because you're setting the bar of expectation low. And even if you have case after case in the music business, they basically operate like lemmings. If an artist is endorsed by a major label and signed, producers know they may get actually paid, so suddenly they're interested.
Yeah.
They could have passed on the same demo, and that goes for nearly anyone else in the food chain, from the lawyer to the agent. They listen to the same song. I'm not interested. I hate it. Well, it just got signed by such and such and such and such a big label. Oh, really? Well, can you send it to me again? I mean, people don't even apologize for that kind of thing, because it's obvious. It's become so part of the business.
But it's different now, man. It's definitely a different world. I personally think sponsorship is going to start kicking in, like what we talked about before.
Sponsors are everything.
I think our artists are going to need those kind of. Mozart. He needed a sponsor back in the day, because that's how he got paid. People, patron of the arts.
And today, you have these amazing social platforms where people can fund stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, I have so many former clients and friends that have had just tremendous success. People that you've never even distantly heard of being in the business, raising $35,000 like that, because they're hitting up their friends, their family, they're personalizing the gifts that they could give to the sponsors. I'll make you a recording, I'll make you a song for your, things that have a personal touch, because people will still buy CDs if they're signed by the artist after the show with a 5-minute hang. So the onus is now more on artists to personally interact with the VIP list, the people. I mean, that's where the money's really coming from. We made more money from a Toyota convention doing one song in 10 minutes in Las Vegas than we did in the first 3 years of touring 150 dates a year. Can't say.
Okay.
But that's the level of sponsorships. I mean, for one, any business that's tertiary to the music business, they're enamored of it. They don't really know the real cost, and they're happy to overpay. But film and TV has always been a great boon to artists. It's always been a great way to raise awareness. Had shows like Grey's Anatomy that really bolstered the singer-songwriter genre. And that's a great way to generate some revenue and exposure if you can do it right. A lot of rock stars now just go straight to the composing desk and work for shows, because the money and creativity is the same as in the old days. Only you don't have to schlep around live. And a lot of people think they want to be rock stars their whole life until they're in a tour bus and realize, like, wait a minute, I'm not a rock star. I'm hosting a party every night, and I've got to drink and wake up at 5 a.m, do a drive time radio show. Forget this. I don't want to deal with this nightmare. People don't really understand it until they're in it, and then they start to contour their behavior. But as far as the future of the business, sponsors.
Sponsors. Well, with that said, artists, and we're out of time, and the hour went too fast. We got to have you back on sometime again soon. As things go, really appreciate you coming down, Justin.
Absolutely.
You're an amazing talent. artists, find your way, because never give up, never surrender. If that's what your call is. This has been The Changing Stage, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks. Thanks, Stars Align, Pitbull Audio, SIR, and of course, California Music Studios. You guys rock. Make sure you go out to the concerts with the Aristocrats and the Rock and Roll Union. We'll see you next time.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life, live it well.
In the military, things can change in an instant. At Navy Mutual Aid Association, we understand because it's our life too. That's why our dedication to serving the life insurance needs of our military veterans and their families is unrivaled. Navy Mutual offers superior life insurance protection without military service restrictions and limitations. A single focus on providing the peace of mind military families are looking for. That's what we do. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve. Call 800-628-6011 or go to NavyMutual.org.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect. Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.